Yes. Good morning. I am going to talk a little bit this morning about nationalist I'm doing my video. Talk about anti-colonial leaders from before World War II, but really the experiences that a lot of people had were the same, no matter where they were and no matter what time period they were in.
Mama.
Yes, my love.
There's a bumping cars.
Bumping cars?
They're finding my bumper cars and the green crash.
Oh my goodness, that's not good. Well, we'll sort him out after. Oh, Tintin. Oh, boogers. Okay, so now that's a great start to the video. So one of the things I wanted to start off with saying is that across colonial countries, colonized countries in the early 20th century, there was a push for these nationalist movements, the return of land to the Indigenous owners. So, for example, there was the slogan "Africa for Africans" and "Fiji for the Fijians." Those are the Fiji for the Fijians one is the one I'm most familiar with after doing my PhD research. And what I wanted to talk about today was the ways in which they trained and where they were getting their ideas from. So what I noticed with my research was that a lot of the leaders who emerged and ended up being strong anti-colonial leaders were getting some education in the mission systems. And a lot of missionaries were exposed to ideas about nationalism, protection and preservation of culture, certain aspects of culture. The Methodist mission is the one that I know the most about, and they definitely had a focus on preserving certain elements of Indigenous cultures. Not all missions were the same, and a lot of people have seen missions as destructive to culture. But in mission schools, there seems to have been at least discussion. Morning, Joel. There seems to have been discussion about the potential for creating nations, and missions were, at least the Protestant missions, had a goal of eventually handing over control of the churches to Indigenous people. So there was that idea that eventually decolonisation would happen in one form or another. So those ideas were there. I've been working on this biography about a Papua New Guinean leader, Isoli Salin, and he was in school in Rabaul in the islands of Papua New Guinea in the 1920s and 30s, and he had some schooling down here in Australia. And his teacher was W.E. Groves, and Groves was very interested in ideas of nationalism and how to bring people together and form a sense of unity through language, through looking at people's shared cultural practices, and just selecting some of those that would work best to promote a nationalism moving forward through the colonial system and then perhaps beyond. So those ideas were floating around.
I have.
Thank you, my darling.
I have.
Okay, I'm just going to finish this and then I'll play with you, okay? All right, so that's one way in which a sense of unity would emerge around national ideas or nationalist ideas. The other way, this is really simplifying it, but the other way in which it would happen would be in resistance to colonial control and efforts to destroy Indigenous sovereignty and authority. So in those cases, one of the best examples I'm familiar with is Apollosi Nawai's movement in Fiji. Helen and the twins too. That's lovely. Hello, everybody. So the leader that I'm talking about, Apollosi Nawai, he was big on the idea of Fiji for the Fijians, of people returning to their land and farming it for themselves, becoming self-sufficient, economically independent of the colonial powers and colonisers. And this is, he was undermined consistently by the colonial authorities. He was run down as a cult leader. He was, he had all sorts of accusations levelled at him. And often these nationalist leaders were criticised for being uneducated or corrupt or whatever. Often this was a very European view of things, so people would be considered uneducated in a Western system, but in fact that kind of denied the fact that there's a lot of different ways in which you can be educated and get knowledge and wisdom. So they were looking at it in like how qualified are you in a Western schooling system without recognising the full spectrum in which people got information and had life experience that would allow them to see power and how it operated and learn how to organise and mobilise people for action and all of that sort of thing. So it was really the European structures that were limiting some of the ways in which leaders could develop in a Western sense. And then, but they didn't want to acknowledge that or change it. So, but occasionally you get people who were lifted up or selected as the kind of cream of the crop elite to go and learn elsewhere. Again, another example from Fiji was Ratu Sakuna, who got sent off to Oxford, I think it was, to learn, and then brought back. He was one of the highest ranking chiefs. He was definitely the highest ranking chief in the colonial administration for a long time. And there's so many examples of that. I think I was thinking of Ho Chi Minh this morning and how he went off to France to learn. What's gone? Your video? Where's it gone? Is it in the tent? Okay, so that's about all I wanted to say, but I just I thought that would be a kind of a broad brushstroke approach to talking about some of the nationalist ideas that were floating around. And I'll do I don't know, honey.
Mom, where's my video?
I don't know. I'll look for it in a minute, okay? So yeah, I know, Eamon.
Where's my video?
I'm going to have to go and find the video.
Where's my video go?
I don't know. I'll find it in a minute, okay?
You take that, fire engine. Take that, fire engine.
Take that, ambulance. Alright, this is descending into chaos. So anyway, hopefully you found that interesting. I'll do a transcript because I'm not sure how much you heard me over Eamon and his games and Tintin doing whatever he's
Get
doing.
fire engine.
Tintin. Tinashe.
No, say. No,
Oh my goodness. I gotta go clean these kids up. Alright, bye.